Hey everybody, Jim Sinacropi here alongside with Rhett Taccone. Welcome to a special edition of the GolfJ.com podcast on Thursday, April 14th, 2016. Today we'll be talking with John McGuire, founder and president of Game Golf, the hot new personal round tracking system that you probably heard a lot of by now. We're excited to talk to John about his innovative new product, how he got to where he is today, and their plans for the future. And so via Skype, I'd like to welcome John into the show. John, how are you doing this morning?
Hey Jim, hey Rhett, nice to be on your show.
Hey John.
Doing good.
Well, we certainly appreciate you taking out the time to talk to us. And, you know, with all the products and clubs and shoes and apparel and all this stuff that comes out every year, the one product that really made me take notice when it was first announced, about maybe 2 years ago now, maybe not quite 2 years, was Game Golf. Because we talk a lot about technology in golf and how it applies to equipment, but really the analytical nature of being able to track your shots and then go back and look at them statistically from one round or a whole season. It's just really intriguing. And when you talk about game improvement, I think that the average golfer can probably make greater strides improving by analyzing the results of what they're doing on a golf course.
Right. And on the range too.
Yeah, absolutely. So really interesting new product, and I see now that you have even more offerings with the smartphone app starting at $99. So really exciting new product, John. And how did you get to where you are today? How did you get involved with Game Golf? And just give us a little background.
So the brief background is, so I'm from Ireland. I'm from Galway on the west coast. I have two backgrounds. Engineering is one, and performance psychology is another. So I would have worked in the performance psychology side of things, from everything from a professional ballerinas flying over from the UK to Ireland to the weekend warrior golfers. And then my day job was a software engineer. So this is it's a coming together of two passions, both technology and performance. But one of the things I realized, I had gone to the golf show for years, looking at all the exhibits, the products. And one thing that I realized was a lot of the stuff that you see at that show is technology driven versus design driven. So I knew that if we really wanted to have a successful consumer product, we would need world-class design. So around 2011, I made the trek to San Francisco from Ireland to, start raising the capital, but also to engage with one of the top designers in the world. His name is Yves Berhar. Mm-hmm. He's a Swedish designer behind, a lot of the most iconic consumer products out there. So we got one of the best designers in the world involved, and we started building the team. And roll on 2014 at the PGA show, we launched on the Wednesday morning. We opened the show with the CEO of the PGA of America, Pete Vivacqua. So the PGA are involved in this company, and we work very hard to help them with their mission, which is to grow the game and serve their members. We also had Mike McCarley, from the president of the Golf Channel. They're actually involved in the company from a media perspective. It's not just improvement. There's media and social angles to what we're doing. And we had Graham McDowell, the U.S. Open champion, fellow Irishman, who's also involved in the company. So we launched the partnerships into the industry. We launched the product into the industry, and we had a very successful launch, very, very successful launch. And that product was called Game Golf Classic. And it was really a product, and it also was USGA and RNA approved, so the technology can be used in tournaments. In fact, Graham wore it in the practice round and maybe the Part 3 competition at the Masters. Jim is wearing it, so Jim Furyk is involved, and Lee Westwood is involved now. And now we have other tour players, and both women and men involved from the different tours. So on the PGA Tour, you've got ShotLink, which is the shot tracking system that the professional golfers use. And now with Jason Day and Jordan Spieth and Ricky Fowler and these guys coming to the fore, a kind of younger batch of golfers, they're all into stats. They use stats in their practices, and they use stats to make to help understand what they're doing while they're golfing.
Sure.
To bring awareness to their game. Otherwise, it's all subjective. It's what you kind of think. And we know from our data, which we have a lot of data right now, we really understand what's happening with golfers out there. Most golfers across the globe, because it's been used now in 124 countries worldwide, most golfers select the wrong club. They don't really know their distances. They think they think they know their distances,
yeah. Yep.
but they really don't. So that's kind of the background. That's kind of who's involved. So this is being used on tour by, with that system called ShotLink. So we're ShotLink for amateur golfers, or at least that's how it has been described as an analogy. And we have some, in our database, we have really, really good golfers using the system across 124 countries worldwide right now.
Do you, did you, first when you started this, you said Graham's a partner or, involved with it. Did you really look at this more to go towards professional golfers, or did you, have the sole in mind of going to the everyday golfer as the primary purpose for this?
Oh, most definitely the primary purpose was to go to the everyday golfer. But we knew that, if you look at a pyramid of influence in golf, the tour players, there's a reason that TaylorMade and Callaway and Nike and everyone else is spending a lot of money with these guys, getting them to use their equipment. They're obviously huge influencers in this market. So, I went after Graham. I didn't know Graham just because I'm from Ireland. It actually took me a year to get to him. And when he used the first product, which was this big, black, ugly box that really wasn't at all designed, he got it immediately. He got the potential of it around collecting data and bringing awareness to every other golfer that doesn't have ShotLink to be tracking their rounds, or 300 volunteers going after you with high precision GPS and laser equipment. So
right.
Yeah, this is being used. We have a few tour players, but we have we have a lot of amateur golfers around the world using our technology, and there's different value propositions. So for the really, really, really good golfer that wants to dial in their game, we've got strokes gained analysis, and that sort of MIT Professor Brody came up with that kind of system.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we make that easy. We present the graphs and all that, but then in English we tell you, if you start using your 6-iron from 150 yards from the rough, and if you start to dial that in, you'll reduce 2.3 strokes per round. So we actually feed back in English what you need to do. So we make sense of that type of a system. And then for the mid-handicap golfers, or the guys that are mid to really good, it's all about improvement. It's all about your stats. It's all about benchmarking, seeing how others are doing in terms of handicaps that you want to get to.
Yeah.
Right.
And then for the higher handicap golfers, it's all about grip it and rip it, and it's all about competitions and social. So I can play a course here in San Francisco, and I can compete with my brother in Ireland or colleagues in Asia.
Right.
So we've two strands of development going on here. One is all about improvement, because that one guy in the 4-ball that's really good, the other guys are looking, what's the driver you just hit that ball with, right? So it has to be about improvement, but it has to be fun and it has to be social for it to be viral. And we're working on both aspects.
Yeah, and you mentioned Graham McDowell wearing it. It was pretty cool. I was able to go at gamegolf.com on your website and see his shot for shot at Augusta in the front 9. And while I was there, I loaded up our home course at Seneca Falls Country Club, and I saw a couple players who used your product on our course, and you could see their whole round overlaid on the, I assume it's a Google, Earth satellite image of the course. And it was just amazing. And then so my mind starts working about, man, can you imagine how much fun this would be for me to use this not only for one round but for a whole season, and then get in that set. I've played golf for 30 years now, and it would be almost like an awakening or an epiphany to be able to see the stats of my game, because other than maybe tracking putts per round and stuff like that, that's it. And I'm definitely using it this season. It's going to be great.
The nice thing too is, like you said, basically before all you could track was your putts. Maybe you could keep track of your greens and regulation, but you had to write all that stuff down, and you had to really, do it as you were going, instead of now just being able to play your game and look at it as you're going, or look at it after the round without having to do any other work towards it.
So I think, John, that definitely that having that amount of data available to the average golfer, whether they're a scratch handicap, a 10 handicap, or even a 20, even a 25 handicapper could probably shave more strokes off their game if they had that data set to say, geez, maybe I should put this one club in my bag and not pull it out and hit a 5-iron instead of this hybrid because it's killing me. Or maybe I should focus my attention on shots from 100 yards and in because I have such a low percentage of even hitting the green. So all this kind of data is there for you. And then you mentioned that's the improvement aspect, but the social aspect of it too is fantastic because you can share these rounds, with your friends across the country, or even, we play with a regular group of guys on Wednesday nights, and I kind of want to convince them all to buy it. And so if everybody used it, can you imagine how much fun it would be, every Wednesday night when you got home to kind of check out everybody's round, and then over the course of the year. So I just think, as I said off the top, with all the innovations in the game of golf, this is something truly unique, and you've kind of found a unique growth potential for this. Is there much competition you're facing? Because I've seen some other products out there, but none of them seem to be as refined and fully developed as game golf has become.
Yeah, just back to the your buddies on the Wednesday evening. So we've got challenges that right now you've got companies like Bridgestone and Graham McDowell and the tour players. They issue challenges every few weeks, and we get like thousands of people participating in those challenges, seeing where they are in the leaderboard against tour players or winning prizes. But we've also got live leaderboards coming. So you with your three buddies on a Wednesday evening, you'll be able to have a live leaderboard situation going on while you're golfing.
Oh yeah, man, that's great.
The apps while you're playing. So there's a lot of good stuff in place, and there's a lot of fun stuff coming.
Yeah, you mentioned 3 guys. We're talking 30 guys. Like on Wednesday night, we have an open kind of thing, and we get between 20 and 30 guys each week. And so when you say a live leaderboard for that, you know how amazing that could be?
Yeah, it's fun. We're testing it right now. It's nearly ready to be released, and it's just changes the game actually, because it really is. It's really fun to know where you are in comparison to the other guys, and then where you are in comparison to guys that are ahead of you in the field or behind you. So that just adds that social fun element to it, which can only be good for the game of golf, right? It's leveraging technology to do something we're doing anyways, but to make it more interesting. And then the banter happens after your round, where people are commenting and having a go at each other, and so it extends golf from just from the golf course as well, which is another advantage of this. But you asked then about competition. So look, we launched this thing in 2014. We launched with those partners. We were the first to create the shot tracking category. There was nobody else doing this. And where you have success will bring competition. So yes, there is competition out there now. You are right. And of course, I'm going to be biased in that it isn't as developed as what we're doing, because we're a good few years at this now. And having those partners, we're constantly ahead. We're constantly refreshing. We're constantly, and having a large data set now of golfers around the world. One of the things we pride ourselves in this company is we're constantly taking in feedback. We allow customers to vote on what features they'd like to see next.
Yeah.
So I think if we continue to do that, I think we have a real opportunity for success in delivering a product that really adds value to golfers and not just some nice to have. Because ultimately that's what we've got to do here, and that's what we're trying to do every day, is how do we really, really add value in what we're developing? How do we keep it simple, and how do we use design so that the data is intuitive? Because most of the things in golf is just clunky, the data is hard to understand. You need to be a mathematician in a lot of cases, whereas we really work hard in, making sure that some of my friends or my family that maybe aren't as tech savvy, let's say my mother, for example. If my mother can understand this, anyone can understand it. And
Right.
that's just because she's, I'm talking here about, it can't be just for the younger generation that are used of technology. It has to be simple, that it can cross the chasm for all age golfer types.
Sure.
And that's really work hard at that.
Right. Hey, John, have you seen, you had a pretty big presence at the PGA show this year. And have you seen a expanding interest from teachers and club pros as far as getting the product at their shops to one sell, obviously, but also to utilize on the range for instructors, and then doing some of these social challenges through the clubs. You could actually, if a club bought 8 or 10 of these and had challenges with the game golf product, have you seen any increase in that? How's that been received?
The product has been so we started with Game Golf Classic, which was our first generation product. That was 2014. In 2015, we launched free apps, so iOS and Android. And these are apps that you can download from the Play Store or from the iTunes Store. And it allows you to get going. You get the same functionality, but you manually tag every shot. But it allows you to see what the system is. It allows you to experience the data. And then eventually what we're finding is people then go and purchase a device. In November 9th of 2015, we launched our latest product, which is Game Golf Live. And that's the product that surfaces data to the watches, or to the iOS and Android phones. And then it surfaces to the Apple Watch, to the Pebble watches, and to the Android Wear watches. So now you get your distances to the green. You get 2 things really, right? You get your distances that you hit your clubs while you're playing, and you get the distance to your location. So now you have the complete solution. And I guess because we've added, because we've been listening to our customers, which in a lot of cases are PGA professionals. Remember, the PGA of America is involved in this company, and they kind of put their hat on us to work with them from a digital context in growing the game and working hard with their members to basically help their members be successful. So that's kind of a long-winded answer to yes, there's very strong adoption from PGA professionals, both on course and off course.
Right.
Yeah, we're in a lot of locations.
A
lot of locations.
I could totally see an instructor, having one of these, and adding it to a feature for giving a lesson. You can get a regular lesson, or for this you can add the game golf feature, and I can give you a full rundown on all your stats if it was a teaching round, or if it was just out on the range. I can totally see the connection there. It's a great product for that.
From a coaching perspective, it's an absolute no-brainer. I mean, so the good coaches, the really, really good coaches that use our system, what they'll do is they'll sit down with their students, or with the guy on the range, or the first question they should ask, and the good ones really do ask this, is what's your goals? What do you actually want to achieve? Do you want to become a 15 handicap golfer? Do you want to become a 10 handicap golfer? Do you want to become scratch? So depending on what the goals are, then it's one thing looking at their swing on a driving range, right? But the reality is that, and you guys know this, because you're golfers, there's a big difference hitting a bucket of balls and hitting one ball on the tee box of hole number 1.
Sure.
Yep.
So this system, first step is what is it that the golfer wants to achieve. Second then is go play 3 rounds of golf and use the system, tag every shot, and then when you come back, I'm going to see exactly what you're doing. I'll see what your shot dispersion is off the tee box. I'll see when you're approaching the green, are you coming up short. I'll see what your club distances are. I'll know if there's a gap in your bag. So the coach can then really understand what's actually happening while this guy or girl is playing golf. And then you can use what we call benchmarks, where you can now you can go into the system on the web. You can select, I want to become let's say I want to become a 10 handicap golfer. And then across a range of statistics, such as fairway accuracy, greens in regulation, number of putts per hole. So maybe 6 or 7 different kind of measurements in a very intuitive graph format. You can compare yourself to the golfer type that exists at the 15 or 10 or scratch golf. So now you can see the areas that are weak, and the coach can now say to you, okay, your scrambling is really poor, you're not getting any greens in regulation. So here's the areas that we actually need to work with. So now you can develop a coaching plan that, once a month or once every 2 months, they come back and you review the data. That's a very different proposition from looking at somebody's swing on a driving range.
Well, the best way I think to look at it is it's a feedback loop. So,
yes, that's right.
So you've obviously seen all the step trackers and fitness trackers and calorie intake trackers that people use for fitness, and it's scientifically proven that if you track how many steps you take a day, then you're going to start to take more steps and become more healthy just by having that data. And so it's the same thing with golf. You may not realize that you are coming up short with your 7-iron 80% of the shots that you take. And so just, without even consciously taking any steps to improve your game, just by looking at the data that Game Golf provides, you will automatically shave a few strokes without even trying.
Yeah, just knowing, most golfers, honestly, it's a funny game, golf, actually. First of all, a lot of golfers go out there, they haven't golfed in 3 or 4 weeks, and then they start getting annoyed with themselves because they're not hitting the ball the way they'd like to. But in every other sport on this planet, people generally do a little bit of practice.
Right.
That is, I mean, it's a funny sport. So anything that can bring awareness to what's happening, and anything that can do that in a fun way, where you can actually, tap into that competitive spirit that people have, is going to do pretty well. And our influences come from the likes of Fitbit, which is the step, one of those most popular step trackers out there, and the likes of Strava. Those types of companies around us here in Silicon Valley, we know them. We constantly talk to them. We constantly ask them, what has worked, what hasn't worked, and then we see, can we apply that to the golf industry, and what way can we apply that, and can we apply it in a way that's novel and that's fun? Because I'm a big believer of the word fun. If it's not fun, people won't continue to do it, regardless of improvement. So improvement and fun have to go together, because the more you do, the more fun it is, the more you want to do it, and the more you want to do something, there's a greater chance that you're going to improve as because of frequency. Actually, is also a big thing.
Sure. So one of the things when this first came out a couple years ago that I wasn't sure about was how using the product would intrude on my pre-shot routine as I played my round, and how having the thing on the belt, the receiver on the belt, and all that stuff. How now has the game developed? Because you're pretty much at a point where you're almost just playing without even thinking about it, and it's tracking these stats. So what's it like now with the product today if I was going to go out and play a round of golf and use it?
So I'm glad you asked that question, because it's one of my personal touch points. So my background, as I said, is performance psychology and engineering. When we designed the system, we could have designed it that you didn't have to tag any of the shots.
Mm-hmm.
But when we sat down with Yves Berhard, the designer, and Graham McDowell for about 5 hours, and of course my background is this, and we were trying to get into the back of Graham's head. We were trying to figure out how does he do what he does. I mean, so he'll be there with Ken, his caddy. Ken will tell him a distance, right? So we've built range finding into the system to get the distance that a caddy would tell you.
Sure.
But Ken, and they'll go through a conversation, and he'll be like, 5-iron, 6-iron, and he'll be like, give me the 6, and Ken will say, maybe the 5, and eventually he'll select a club. Now he's got the club selected, and then Graham does this thing where, he's got his own physical pre-shot routine.
Right.
But something he said to us immediately resonated, which was, then I'll step back, I'll look down the fairway, and then I will picture in my head, or I'll play in my head the shot I want to hit, all the way to it, landing, bouncing, and running. And I know exactly where I want it to end up, but I will not take the shot until I play it in my head first. So that's when we were like, okay, how would you build that in as like a mental trigger, but physically? How would you build in something mental into a physical product? And that's what the tagging is. So you can tag after the shot, before the shot, but the way it was designed is that when you tag, that's the trigger to step back, do whatever you do, but look down the fairway and picture the shot you want to hit. Because if you're picturing the shot you want to hit, you can't be picturing or thinking about the last bad shot, or you can't be thinking about the 3 guys watching you. You only can be thinking about the shot you want to hit.
And when you say tag, you mean tapping the end of the club to the phone or the belt?
To the device, to the device. Now, so that's the purpose of it. And the interesting thing is, the really good golfers, like the Golf Channel Am Tour guys, the guys competing in tournaments around the US, they all use it like that.
Right.
It's as you go up in the handicaps, as you go, mid-handicap to higher, the feedback was, this tagging can be, sometimes I forget to tag. So then we built an algorithm that actually detects that you took the shot without having to tag. And that's, I would say 90% of your game that will capture. You still have to do some tagging around the greens, but pretty much it's plug and play now. However, though, the tagging actually, if you use it as it's described, I'm telling you, the tagging will help you bring down the strokes in your round of golf,
Yeah, I can see
because it
that.
just brings a focus to your game. It just makes perfect sense. You can't be, if you're thinking about your last bad shot, or if you're thinking about the guys or the girls with you, you're not thinking about the shot at hand. So we've built in a trigger. It's a mental trigger that you can fit into your pre-shot. You can just, stand on the tee box, tag it, look down, think about what the shot you want to hit, play it in your head, and then step in and then do whatever you do physically. Whatever the tweaks you have, you can do that. And people are figuring out how to build this in to their physical routine, either at the very start or when they kind of address the ball, when they look down the fairway, then they'll tag and they'll play the shot in their head. So we do both. We do both.
John, can you take us through the little bit of difference in the products? I know you have the tags, the classic, the new live. There's a little bit of variance between each of them. And if I'm looking on your site and I want to buy one of these products, take us through a little bit of the differences of each of those and why
Sure.
maybe I should do one over the other.
So Classic is our first generation device, and that was a fantastic device. It allowed us to get our partnerships in place, but it required you to upload after your round of golf.
Right.
And that, so that meant that you needed a PC at home or in the pro shop, and so while it was well received, that's a little bit of a barrier.
Right.
And how I know that is my brother-in-law, who's married to my sister in Ireland, who is an avid golfer, plays off six, just doesn't have a machine, doesn't have a PC at home. So for him, it was a big problem.
Okay.
And if it was a problem for him, it was a problem for everyone else. Then we decided, okay, we need to make this thing real time. The device has to surface data while you're playing. It has to act like a rangefinder. So it gives you range finding data. It gives you the rangefinder functionality. It has to capture your shots, so it has to give you two big things. It gives you your distances while you're playing, range finding capability, and now the introduction of live leaderboards, and so that fun element while you're playing is what the new product is all about, Game
Right.
Golf Live product. And that surfaces data to those watches as well, the Apple Watch, the Android Wear watches, the Pebble watches. So now you've really got a complete experience. You look at your watch, you get your distances to the green, you can go into the app if you want to get what's the right club to use for this, and then you take that club out, and now you've got the right club in your hand. So that's Game Golf Live, and we just launched that in November, and that's been very, very well received by the industry. Then we've got two apps. We've got an iOS app, and we've got an Android app. They're free apps. They're standalone. They don't work with any device, but you can manually tag every shot. And really, they're products that allow people that are kind of wondering, would they like to get this and what's this all about, to really experience what the system is, to get their distances, to track their shots, to put their clubs in the system. And then what we're finding is after a while, people then go and get the live device.
Right.
Because now they know the system, they see that there's real value there. And it's a stepping stone to getting the live device. So that's, Classic was the first one. It was USB. It was all after your round of golf. Live is our latest one. That's while you're playing, live leaderboards, surfacing data to watches, etc. And then we've got our two iOS and Android apps that they're free. They allow for manual tracking, and they're generally, the way we're seeing it being used is they're a step up to the next to the live product.
Yeah.
And then we
Right.
do have a set of tags. They're like $99. You can buy a set of tags that you put on your clubs, and they work with the Android phone. We don't market that product as much, but it's also, it's also just giving golfers different price points, different options, because we really believe what we're developing here is really valuable for golfers. So obviously there's a spectrum of golfers, there's different price points people will want to pay. We do everything from free to the $299 device.
And I really
Right.
believe that you've made it accessible now to every golfer. When it first came out, I wouldn't say it was expensive for what you were getting, but it was where a golfer might have to make the decision: do I want to buy a brand new 3-wooder driver, or do I want to get this? But now there's so many different levels to entry that you can even build your way up. And just in case people watching this aren't exactly clear, when you talk about the tags, they just go right into the end of every one of your clubs, and then you can even go on to the site and or to the app and put in the clubs that you use. So
Right.
you could put in your Titleist driver, or your Titleist Vokey wedge, or your Callaway 3-wood. And so when the reports of your rounds come out, it says you hit your Mizuno T-Zoid 6-iron here, and you used your ping putter on that stroke. And so it really can be customized. And once it's set, and I want to go back real quick just to the pre-shot routine. I'm a big proponent of the book Zen Golf. And in that book, which I've read, maybe 15, 20 times, you trigger the start of your pre-shot routine, and from that point on, you should be doing the same thing and getting into that mode of total focus. And so when you talk about tagging, which might be just tapping that club to the device, that it can be your trigger to, okay, now we're starting our pre-shot routines.
Now you're locked in.
Yeah, and so that can be used to your advantage.
Right.
And
Yeah. Look, in every sport, like Johnny Wilkinson, when England won the Rugby World Cup a number of years ago, this guy was the best free taker in the world when it came to a dead ball situation. And he had a mental trigger where he would picture someone behind the post that he would kick it to. In every sport, you see the guys in basketball when they're doing from the free throw line. Now, I need to be careful in my terminology here, but you see the guys, the way they're looking at the basket. In their head, they're picturing the ball, that basketball going into the hoop.
Right.
In every sport, it exists. And we've done is we've actually built that physically into a device. Something that mentally happens, we've built it in physically into this device. And when it's used like that, we know this, right? We've asked actually some scratch Golf Channel Am Tour players, even some of our tour players, we've asked them to talk about the tagging as a performance trigger, and in every case they said, no, we don't want anyone to know about that. That's something
Right.
we would prefer to just know ourselves.
Sure.
So, John, we're happy to talk about any other feature, but not that one, because we see that as a real advantage. Now, it takes, so I know it is. Used in that way, this is an unbelievable product. But also we have the software, as I said already, developed that, if you forget to tag, you don't need to worry about it. We'll pick up the shot.
Yeah, that's really impressive. And Jason Day's a great example, because when he visualizes that shot, and you can see that if you watched any of the recent tournaments, he steps behind the ball and closes his eyes to visualize the shot. So there's that whole aspect to it, in addition to all the technology and the data that you can collect. And we're running a little short on time here, Rhett, but I mean it is one of the most exciting golf products I've seen come down the line.
Hey, John, just real quick, there's a little bit of a partnership, or you guys are working with Golf Pride as well.
Yes.
Want to speak about that a little bit? That was pretty interesting to be able to to see that you could actually get a set of grips that had your product already loaded into the grip.
Yeah. So Jamie Ledford is the president of Golf Pride, and he's a guy that I've known for a number of years, and we've been talking about this for quite some time, actually, even when he was in his Callaway days. So at the show, we had two major announcements at the show this year. Well, actually, we probably four. We had the live product launch, we had the Apple Watch product launch, and then we had the two partnerships, which one was Golf Pride and one was the Golf Channel Academies. But with Golf Pride, they own the Golf Pride, they own the grip market pretty much.
Right.
I think it's like over 85% of all tour players use Golf Pride. I mean, they've a massive market share in all markets. So it makes absolute sense that these tags that screw into the top of the golf club, that they're the size of a dime. They weigh nothing. They do nothing to the swing, or they affect the club in no way. But it made absolute sense that we would start integrating them into grips. So for the phase one of that is that we're about to launch smart grips here in the next few weeks into the industry. Where the grip itself will come embedded in the tag itself will come embedded in the grip. And really, the first phase of this, it's all about just protecting the tags. There'll be a little recess where the tag dips into it. Phase one is protecting the grips, and phase two, things will start getting smarter.
Right. So if you had those, or when this comes out, and if you were to purchase a set of the grips, initially, does that come with the live product, and then down the road, if you needed to replace your grips, you would just replace the grips, and it would still work with the live product?
Yeah, that's the thinking right now. And to be quite honest with you, and totally transparent, we're still figuring out. I mean, we're a few weeks from launching exactly how we bring it together.
Sure.
But yeah, the intention is that you get your grips with your tags and your product and your live device.
Nice.
Well, it's an amazing product, Game Golf. You can learn more about it on GameGolf.com, and you can spend a lot of time at the website. They have a great support forum and community built around the product. And I've also found a couple other sites on the web where online community forums where people are posting their rounds and talking about it. And it's really exciting. I can't wait. As we're here in upstate New York about ready to begin our season, I can't wait to start tracking and seeing, and Red, I know that
Yeah,
maybe we'll have a little
yeah.
competition between each other, see who hits
Definitely.
more greens.
Yeah.
But
But
what we could do, we should set up a challenge. So when David comes back, we should set up a challenge with your listeners.
sure.
We've built the challenges platform. It's very simple to set it up, and then anyone that uses the device every time they upload, if they've joined the challenge, once they upload, they'll get into a leaderboard, and maybe we'll get some prizes going.
There you go.
In terms of usage, let me give you some stats to leave with. So we're in North America and we've one distributor in the UK. Yet the product has been used in over 124 countries worldwide on over 18,000 golf courses. We have 1 million rounds of golf have been uploaded to the system. We have about 60 million golf shots stored, and that's like what clubs people are using, their performance, their distances. So we have a massive, massive amount of data, and we have a lot of golfers using this system, a lot of golfers. So you can actually, as you said at the start, you can go to your golf course on GameGolf.com. You can go into courses, and you can search for your golf course, and you can see who's using the system on the course that you play today.
And then take a look at every shot of the round on your
Yeah.
course. I mean, it was really, you could spend some time there at GameGolf.com for sure. And John, I really want to thank you for taking the time to sit in with us today on the GolfJ.com podcast. And we're excited to use your product and get back in touch maybe down the road.
Super. Well, I enjoyed it too, Rhett and Jim. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John.
All right. So thanks, everybody, for joining us on the special edition of the GolfJ.com podcast. GameGolf.com is a website. They're on Twitter at GameGolf. All of our episodes and the best of the wide world of golf on the web can be found at GolfJ.com. We'll be back on Monday night for another episode. Until then, remember, hit 'em long, not often.
GolfJ.com